A secondary school maths teacher is facing a lengthy jail term after she was convicted of having sex with two of the students that she brought home to her Salford Quays flat.
Well, Louts' 30-year-old Rebecca Joynes also gave birth to one of the boys' babies earlier this year. The boys in question were 15 and 16 years old.
Well, joining us now, former Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. And a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. It's a shocking story, this. But we were sort of quite bowled over by the way it's being reported, rather more sympathetically because she's a woman. If she was a man, we would be glad to see her locked up in jail, wouldn't we?
Well, that's right. I mean, the prosecution barrister made the point that if the teacher was called Roger and not Rebecca, then it would be treated in a far different way. People tend to sort of see this in some that the boys have had some kind of good time or something, where they're the victims of sexual assault, and so she'll face a lengthy prison sentence, it would seem.
Do you think prison is the right place for her?
Well, it's a delicate balance, isn't it? Because you have she has a young child, but that would seem to be in care by the sounds of the reporting on this. But the facts are, if she doesn't go to prison, what kind of message does it send out? Because any man who did this would, of course, be put in jail for 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, it does seem extraordinary that we're sort of questioning whether or not she should be in prison, where we wouldn't if she were a man. However, is it the right place for her? Will she... I mean, when you read up the story, you just can't help but feel that she's sick. Will she get the right sort of rehabilitative care?
Well, I think sometimes we forget that prison is about punishment, and she's committed sexual offences against two underage children. So, one, there's the issue of punishment, and secondly, is she ill? What is the issues here? That is something that the psychologists and psychiatric people in prison can figure out. But I think there must be some kind of prison time, because otherwise it just sends out a bad message to other teachers.
Mike, have you been surprised by the discourse surrounding this story? Or is it not something that shocks you? Because, I mean, even looking at the paper in front of me, it's being described as a story of seduction. And then we've had some views in this morning saying this is every teenage boy's dream.
Well, I suppose that's how it's going to be reported, and that's how people will see it, is that people see it, if men do it, this is some kind of a predatory thing, whereas a woman teacher's involved in all this, and it's seen as some kind of, as you say, some sort of teenage boy's fantasy. But the reality is this: it involves sexual crime against minors, and has got to be dealt with as such.
Yes, I mean, and whatever happened will always be there and affect those boys' lives. And in particular, the child that has resulted as well. I mean, it's not just, you know, it's not just a silly thing that happened. It's something that really affects lives and will be there forever.
That's right. You know, as you say, you've got there's 3 children involved in this. The 2 boys assaulted, and then the baby that's been born. And how would you live your life when you know the circumstances of your birth? And then there's the responsibility. You've got a young lad here, I don't know, 16, 17, who's suddenly thrust into fatherhood. So it's a complete mess. And I think just by calling it a silly thing, it's not a silly thing, it's a criminal act.
Yeah, some people have had some very strange responses which trivialise what is not a trivial matter. In your experience, because again, this is being reported in various different ways, in your experience, will that baby spend time in jail with mum? Or is any judge, any family judge, more likely to leave the baby where it is now, which is apparently in the home of the father, with the father's family?
I think they'll probably leave it with the parents, the grandparents. That's the secure place for it to be, poor little thing. And also some visits to the mother in prison. Obviously, the child has got to know its mother, but the secure place would be with the grandparents.